Let's go over Linux tools in today's live stream. So there's a couple different things I kind of want to do, not necessarily create anything new in today's live stream, but more refine what's available, get feedback from chat and things like that to see what we could maybe modify to make people's lives a little bit better on Linux. Because right now I have quite a few tools I use all the time in Linux, but often you just don't set up quite easily for a new Linux user. So I think we could probably do a lot more error checking and kind of refine some of these tools. I kind of have the repositories and everything set up over here. Just looking at this, probably like I know my bash is something I want to kind of take a look at again. And DWM Titus I've been kind of working with a little bit as well, which most people don't really care too much about that. Warp patch update and key code fixes. Interesting. And then set this to using SDG. Yeah, I do need to do both those things. Let's see what else we have. So we have my bash, definitely one of them that we'll approach today. Let's see. Linux utility, we've started kind of messing around a little bit in Rust on that one. We've got probably some PRs we could look at if we wanted. Let's see, what other things? NeoVim. I probably should look at the NeoVim configuration as well. What else do we have? So we got my bash, NeoVim to look at, and a few other things. So I think that'll be good. Oh, how's it going, Luke? Yeah, it should be. Oh, also the bootloader themes, auto setting that up probably needs to be refined as well. Linux, Mac, GNOME. What is this? GNOME. Oh my gosh, this is ancient. This used to set up, this is actually Unity on Ubuntu that I did. I cannot believe that's still a thing. We could probably just delete that. I'm never going to revisit using GNOME like this. This was absolutely bonkers of a setup that when I first got Linux, I think, yeah, 4 years ago, I was like maybe on Linux for 6 months, and I messed around to modify Ubuntu to basically look like KDE, but it was GNOME. Insane, and don't recommend that. Yeah, no, I took last week off. So last week I just kind of took off, and it was good. It was a good time. Every once in a while, I'll take a break. During the summertime, you'll probably see me disappear for a week or two here and there. This one, I think what we're going to do is get rid of this. And I'm not going to archive this one just because this thing is just terrible. Let's just delete the whole thing. I want to delete, yes. I don't really want this to exist anymore. This was a awful idea. No one should ever do this, and it is going in the trash bin. Clean that up. Ah, God bless. I gotta do this again. I swear, every bit of that. All right. Well, let's see. Maybe I can change it this way. All right, cool. There we go. Sometimes it requires authentication. I got a lot of two-factor on my GitHub. Linux tools is the name of the game today. We're just kind of looking through what can we do to make things better for folks. Here's something I thought was interesting. I forked this project called ACPI Lite. If you do use Linux on a laptop, this was a really neat tool, but I found there was problems with accessing sysclass backlight. So I think I modified this a little bit on the installation of this X-Backlight. Basically, this modifies X-Backlight to work no matter what. Because right now, X-Backlight is required to use Xorg server video Intel. And if you want to use X-Backlight, you don't want to use this really crappy driver that is basically forced on you from Xorg, you can, and basically this is a good way to get around it, because you should never use this X server video Intel. It'll cause like glitches or a lot of other, just anytime you use Intel graphics on Linux, especially on newer laptops, you're going to see a lot of artifacting and like VSync errors and tearing. And this basically fixes all of that. So as long as you want to install this to fix that, and then X-Backlight stops working, and this ACPI Lite gets it working again. So very cool. Whoa, let's see. What's up, Tails? What else we got in chat? How many PRs today? Oh, God bless. Did we finish? Like last night we did the Windows Toolbox as well. And we pretty much finished with all that. I didn't, you know, I never merged that in. So we probably should do that as well. Moving on. Let's see, anything else in here? Because so far, like bootloader themes probably needs to be updated. Oh, Conky, man. I hadn't messed with Conky in it's been a minute. Yeah. Cocky RC last year. I used to do like a heads up display kind of thing on my desktop with Conky. Astra Invim. I kind of messed around with a little bit on that, but I didn't really dig it that much. I need your help, Chris. I'm doing music production. I primarily use Pro Tools, but there is no Linux support, and the only draw support in Linux is Reaper. What should I do? Use Mac or Windows. Linux sucks for audio. It just does. I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but Linux is not the tool for you. If you really want to mess around with it, you can, but Linux's strong suit's neither video nor audio. It just isn't. Maybe one day it'll get there, but that's not today. You know, I mean, that a lot of people won't say that, you know, but it's the truth. Debian Titus and Arch Titus, please. Yeah, I know. That'd be another one. I know those are really messed up as well. You can emulate, and I heard it's not that bad. Emulating audio stuff and interfacing with actual hardware equipment. Here's the thing with most Linux audio people. You're using like some jank China-made $30 device off of Amazon. Because almost no audio stuff has a Linux application. Well, for audio engineers, like people that aren't just hobbyists, right? They're going to need to use Mac or Windows. It's just a thing. I will die on this hill. I know it's going to piss Linux people off, but it's just how the state of things. Let's not oversell Linux to folks. That's overselling Linux. Audio is the worst. It's like if I was an audio engineer, Linux would be my last place for operating systems to pick, even with all the warts and all of Microsoft Windows and Mac. Both have actually pretty decent software that the audio people make for it. On top of that, the back end really has a lot more development specifically for the audio. Linux's audio is still quite a bit of an afterthought. Very small team, not much in the way of things. Like when you look at Jack, ALSA, Pulse, Pipewire, all the different audio crap in Linux, it's very rudimentary and a bit on the half-baked side. And I hate to tell people that because I always like you to try Linux. Don't take me as that. I don't want to lie to people. And that's lying, especially to an audio engineer. You're going to just waste their time and they're just going to hate Linux. And that's why I say that. And so don't take it as me, you know, that. I want to let people know. I love it. And I'm still, mind you, I still love a lot of my audio stuff I have here. And I do make sure a lot of it does interface with Linux. But yeah, it's just the state of things. Yeah. I mean, Linux can be fun for, like, it depends on the person. Like, who is Linux for is probably the best question to ask. And Linux can be for a complete noob. Like, take my father-in-law, for instance, not a computer guy. Love him to death. You know, we go bike riding and he's just a great dude. But I installed Linux on his PC. Mainly because I got tired of fixing the Windows counterpart. He'd always have something happen in Windows or get a virus or have some weird error. So I installed Linux on his stuff because all he really was using it for was like a web browser and an occasional thing. Maybe printing something off. Very basic user. Linux is perfect for him because it doesn't change as much. You don't have that vigorous update cycle like you do with Windows. And he didn't want to spend the money on like a Mac. So Linux would be the best option for him. So that's a perfect candidate for someone using Linux. Where Linux is really hard is here. Let me switch over to what I'm doing so people know where I'm at. That's kind of what I'm rocking now. Arch Linux with DWM. But for power users, it's probably the hardest person to convert. A lot of people think you have to be really like this Jedi of Linux style, you know, to even approach Linux, or just amazing power users. That's actually the person that is probably the hardest to convert to Linux. Like if you're really good with computers and you've only used Windows or Mac your whole life and you are a power user, that's the hardest person to get to use Linux, because there's a whole new tool set that person's going to need to learn. And there's going to be some tools that just simply don't exist on Linux, and they did over here that only power users use. So what do you do with that user? Do you just give up? I mean, pretty much that's what most of the Linux desktop community has given up on, most power users. That's why you see like just an endless sea of Linux tutorials on how to create an ISO using Rufus and then loading Linux Mint. I've even made that video. So no knock against other YouTubers on that regard, but that's what you see when you look up installing Linux for the first time on YouTube. It's meant for the noob, not the power user. The power user has just a lot of different tools and alternatives that he has to find, or she has to find, to move on. Like instead of using Photoshop, you're going to be using something different, probably GIMP. I mean, there's ways to emulate Photoshop, but then we get really into the weeds of Wine and other things that makes it very difficult. And then you got your Office to consider as well. You're not going to use Microsoft Office on Linux. You just aren't. You're going to need to pick an alternative. So what is that alternative? I would say probably OpenOffice, or you could use LibreOffice. It's a lot different. There's a big learning curve. That's a whole different software suite than that power users used to. So they're like, well, I got to have my macros, or they do VBS scripts directly into Office to attach footers and things like that. Well, they have to relearn and redo all these tool sets for the power user. That's kind of crazy. It's a big jump for the power user. There's a lot to tackle there. So yeah, I'm trying to do more videos in Linux geared towards power users on the main channel, actually, to help out with that, and also try and make some kind of tools that help ease that transition. But there's so many different alternatives that a power user needs to learn. So that's my opinion on the thing. Power users are the hardest people to convert from Windows to Linux. Funny enough, the computer guy that you know that's really good, and you may be that computer guy, you're probably the hardest person to convert to Linux. The easiest person is actually the person that doesn't know much about computing, like my father-in-law. Fantastic. He was so easy to convert to Linux. Occasionally he'll call me up and be like, hey, I got a new printer. How do you install the driver for this thing? The disk or the executable's not working. So you still run into that. But it's much easier. It's much easier. I see you use Kitty for your terminal emulator. What do you like about it? Have you tried WesTerm? Yeah, Darth, I really like Kitty because it's like almost like Alacrity from a backend, and I just have one comp file, and it just sets up really easy on all my systems. WesTerm I've heard really good things about as well. The downside to using Kitty is if you're like on a Raspberry Pi or an ARM-based system that doesn't have good 3D acceleration, Kitty can have issues. So that's the downside to it. Yeah, I you know, as far as the switching to Linux thing, that's probably the hardest for most is that just learning new things. The LTT, I think LTT is a good example of like a gamer. I think he's more of a gamer / power user, and that's probably one of the hardest demographics to hit for Linux. I think the gaming aspect is close to getting there, but still not. It still feels worse than obviously Windows, especially coming from someone that's gamed for more than a decade in Windows. So that's one of the big things. Fast fetch. Here, I'll show you how I did fast fetch. Actually, I didn't do it. It was actually Tech Zero from Zero Linux that sent it over to me. But we can go into a fast fetch and config. Here you go. We'll just copy that and let me paste that into chat for you guys. Actually, I can probably do it over here so YouTube gets it as well. There you go. YouTube and Twitch both get that. But yeah. All right, have a good one, Tails. Oh, So today, let's look at old GitHub, right? Let's come into our GitHub. And right now I have bootloader theme, we have my bash, we have NeoVim. What else do we have? DWM Titus is one that I've been using too. Probably setting up like, I could set up like Debian. I would like a Debian setup that makes it real easy for folks as well. That'd be awesome too. Yeah, I keep a foot in the waters just in case. For now, Windows just works for me. I think that's the other big thing too. That's a good point from like Damien Killer's probably the person I'm talking about. A power user, the computer person that people would call when they have like, hey, I'm having this issue with my computer. That type of user is the hardest to convert because there's so many tools and so much stuff to learn, and you got to pretty much find alternatives for Linux or different ways of doing it. A good example is like, how do you flush your DNS in Linux? Completely different from Windows. How are you setting your IP addresses? How are you going to do different, DNS servers? There's a lot of different things that you just have to relearn a whole different methodology and a whole different way of doing it. You can't take your existing knowledge. Hey, I know what these things do, but they don't work the same way as they do in Windows or Mac, and I have to do it through a different interface. And it takes a lot of time to learn all those things. There's a lot of knowledge I have of Windows, and to take that and transport it over into the Linux realm is, you have to relearn it all. You do. There's much different ways of doing all those things. Like I just mentioned, just a lot of the networking stack is just a whole different can of worms. IP config. Yeah, almost everything's like IP, and then you could set it up through like, sometimes it could be network D, like here I have network manager on this machine, and you could set up this, which network manager I kind of like because you got CLI, which is really good. And to give you like a TLDR of CLI is probably the best way to go. You can see all the different ways you can interface with CLI. So network manager is my favorite configuration for networking in Linux, but a lot of distros these days, sometimes you have weird ones like NetPlan and Ubuntu. If you're an Ubuntu user, I'm sorry ahead of time. You're going to be dealing with NetPlan YAML files. And that is pure hell. I just absolutely hate that setup. I hate how Ubuntu does its networking. I don't know why they decided after, I think, was it Ubuntu 18 or Ubuntu 20 when they went with NetPlan? Awful. Just terrible. Every time I can see an Ubuntu server and I'm like setting things up, I'm like, oh, great. Hopefully I don't screw up the spacing here in my YAML file and then not have the NetPlan apply properly. So, whole different rant, sorry. Anyways. Network manager is great. I highly recommend just using that. Some systems don't ship with that, or obviously NetPlan, which is awful. You'd use like the systemd has its own networking stack that you could utilize. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's fairly easy to configure. And I think like by default, Debian, I believe, uses that off Debian and Arch, I believe, use that for the most part on most configurations. And I always just toss networking manager and have it take over and kind of make things a little easier for me, because I really like CLI and configuring it this way. And there's also some front end tools for network manager. If you don't want to use the terminal, there are a lot of easy to configure. Like KDE has some really good ones. I think most times you install KDE, it does also grab network manager. Don't quote me on that one. No might work the same way, but yeah. In the end of the day, I just use CLI. So yeah, just my thought process. I'm using NMTUI. Yeah, which NMTUI then you got networking terminal UI. Guys, I don't think I've ever used this in the last 5 years. I don't think I've ever even done this. Really? Well, this is easier. That's hilarious. Okay, so this is a good illustration of why Linux is sometimes difficult. There's a lot of options. There's no... I've been using NMCLI forever because I've just been a CLI guy. I didn't realize there was a terminal UI for Network Manager called NMTUI. Thank you, chat. I'm always learning something from y'all. Still using the NVIDIA GPU. Oh, yeah. That is hilarious. Yeah, why mess around with MCLA when you got NMTUI? Touche, guys. Touche. That is that's awesome. So I'm still learning, even after using Linux for 5 years. There's still stuff like that that pops up. That's hilarious. Also, kind of why I like doing this on chat, because I don't know everything. I don't, and it's nice to have people correct me when or show me alternatives that I'm like, oh wow, yeah, there is a different way of doing this. It's even easier. That's great. What are we doing today? Here, let me put up the notes. Let's go with Linux tools was the idea for today's stream. Let's put that up on a stream. To do on stream, Linux tools. Well, that's cool. So we learned about that, or at least I did. You can teach an old dog new tricks. Does your DWM config have the same mouse issue binding as Hyperland? I don't think so, no. Oh, well, just change them to what you got on Hyperland. It's fairly simple. So, like, if you want to change and use my DWM, you should just, it might understand a little bit of C, but yeah, even if you don't understand C, you can just come down into where it says keys right here. And you can see we have all these different, so mod key, that's set to like the Windows button or the super key as it's called in some keyboards, whatever you got rocking. So this is super key. Control R will do a Proton restart script. It just runs that command. You got super key X to launch the terminal. A lot of people use super key enter, so you'd probably use enter there, or actually it's called return here. For that one, I have some specific backlight type things using X backlight. These are a little different, but those are basically media keys I have on my laptop, so I've added that in. Obviously, you can change these to your one, but you can specify any key on any keyboard basically using this. If you need to specify a unique key, you could use a lot of different tools for that. I think I was using I think it was like X tools or something like that. I couldn't remember exactly what I was doing for grabbing that. I downloaded my bash, detected issues with EndeavourOS because the commands that should return Arch return EndeavourOS. I forked it and fixed it on my end, but I didn't know. Oh, okay. Yeah, we could easily add that in. And we probably should add Manjaro on there too, because Manjaro is another popular Arch spin that we could just do as well. What do we got? Debian for gamers. Yeah, sure. Let's check that out. Sometimes my stream's a hot mess. This is one of those hot mess streams. Let's see what you got here, Ben. A simple script to customize Debian for the best experience for gaming on Linux. All right. Well, let's see what we got. I love seeing some new. It's always interesting to see what Linux users come up with, because everyone uses their computer a little different. Oh, look at this, Chad. Look at this keyboard down here. Oh man, this is a high-res photo. I gotta have my num key, but I can appreciate the cleanliness. Shift and escape is red. I wonder why. Anywho, very cool. I'm not gonna judge you too much for your Logitech gaming mouse. I have a Razer, which is awful. Don't buy that. It's such a crappy mouse I have. You got the tie. Okay. It's a very interesting setup here with the widescreens flipped up portrait mode. And if we look here, I'm going to judge you a little bit. We got GNOME. Ugh. We got some White Sur theming going on. The Mac aesthetic. And maybe you come from Mac. It's kind of cool. XFCE4 terminal. Change your terminal. You're going to thank me later. Trust me. XFCE4 terminal. Ugh. I'll change your terminal font too. You're killing me here. Monospace 12. Get a nerd font. Any nerd font. Way better. You're going to love that. So definitely do those two things. Change your terminal from XFCE terminal to probably shoot anything. WesTerm, Kitty, Alacrity, even Terminator, I think is better, really. And then change your terminal font. Gotta do that. Okay. But anyways, okay. Just, I saw the picture. I had to look at it, Ben. All right. Example of script. Oh, nice. We're using a little bash thing. Install Steam, Flatpak tools. Highly recommended. Install extensions. FlatHub apps. Whitesir and GNOME configs. Ew. Core control. Liquid control. Nice. Okay. Auto CPU Freak. You know, I used to use Auto CPU Freak. I think I actually did a video about this a while back. I actually have switched off of this project. I no longer really use it. I actually ran into some like odd bugs with it. Monospace font is amazing. Out. Fired. You're fired. No, monospace font is not amazing. Don't use that. Use a nerd font like a normal human being. Monospace font is fine on a server, on TTY or something. But no, not in a Linux terminal. Absolutely not. I will die on this hill. Use a nerd font. Use a nerd font. I'm very passionate about that. No monospace. Any nerd font. I will take any nerd font as acceptable. You know, probably a Meslio LGS is my personal favorite, but I know some people are a little bit more like Roboto or a Cascadia Cove or JetBrains has an amazing nerd font. Those are great. Monospace? Monospace? No. Nobody. No. No. All right, sorry. And we got display link driver. Okay. VS Code and NVIDIA GPU drivers experimental. Interesting. Okay. Let's take a look at the script. We got you're just doing wget, review it, and run it. Alrighty. So you're using Debian 12 GNOME desktop environment. What do we have on the install? What to look at first? Alrighty. Install Steam and extensions. Let's move on to drivers. All right, trying to grab the NVIDIA drivers. Yeah, that's fine. Ugh, AMD Pro. I honestly though, you know, I had the 7800 XT and I probably should have switched to like a Debian based thing. Also, I don't know for Debian if you should be using Ubuntu here. That I don't think they might not have a different option, but you're going to definitely run into problems because you're basing it off of Jammy, which is, you know, Ubuntu 22.04, I want to say, and Debian, they are not created equal. So you might run into problems with that. Word of caution. Mesa drivers, sure. Boom, just grabbing some Vulkan drivers, backport. I'm kind of curious. So what I usually do is Lutris actually has a good little dependency section. So you might actually look at like wine dependencies through Lutris. Make sure you're grabbing all these, especially for the derivatives. Maybe doing the D package add architecture to i386 in there. This would improve your script a good bit too. And then we have a little bit of the libraries. And then that's about it, really. It should grab all the other dependencies. But I would actually grab this and put it into your script as well. So, yeah, that's the install. I wouldn't run this. I would probably improve this a bit more for the install section. What kind of extensions you rocking GNOME these days? It's been a while. So, all right. So we can do a whiptail or preventing the UI. And we have no overview at startup, tray icons, dash to dock. Dash to dock's pretty much a necessity. Audio device hider, battery health charging, optional for laptops. Okay, nothing too crazy on the extension front. It's very, not very intrusive ones. Honestly, if I was on GNOME and I was using an extension, I love Material Shell. I mention it almost every stream anytime GNOME gets brought up. Extensions are fine, I guess. I mean, nothing too groundbreaking there. Then we got our core CTL. What do we have? Liquid control. You're doing a wget, grabbing the service file, creating that as a system service. Daemon reload, start, and enable. You could actually consolidate these two lines, do systemctl enable liquid config and then just do -- now. So that actually enables and starts it in one line, but nothing's wrong with that the way you did it here. Just a minor thing. Auto CPU freak. I can't remember exactly what I was doing when I ran into problems with it, but I ended up moving on from this. Basically, this modifies your frequency so you can get a little bit better battery life for laptops. Yep. And then we got display link. This is Synaptex. I haven't really used this. Again, watch out using Ubuntu stuff on Debian. Just because it's a .deb file and it's Ubuntu, they probably don't have a Debian version of the package, but it's probably okay. But definitely watch out. And then Visual Code, VS Code is fine. Yeah, you're just grabbing the key here and then doing the install down here of code. All that looks good. Why don't you like GNOME? Very simply, GNOME is a terrible desktop environment once you start modding it at all. If you want to use a stock version of GNOME, more power to you. It's fine. It's fine. Honestly, GNOME's a good desktop environment for the stock experience. It's when you start adding a bunch of extensions and start modding it out, you're going to run into problems. Because what's going to end up happening is the version of GNOME will get updated and change, and then the version of the extension that worked on the old version of GNOME isn't going to get updated, and then it's going to break. That's the main problem with GNOME, is just the extension setup. Also, installing extensions for your actual GUI through a web browser, a little weird. You can do it through CLI and other methods, obviously, like it's done here, but it's not something that I find very stable. Unless you're doing the stock, if you're fine with how GNOME looks and operates without any extensions, by all means, knock yourself out. But I think it's just fundamentally flawed from a desktop environment for anybody that wants to mod it. If you want to start adding a lot of extensions, I just absolutely despise the way GNOME does extensions. It's just done by a crazy person. I just don't know why they decided to go that route. It's wild. It's just wild. So that's why. The extensions. They have an app now, the extension manager. Again, yeah, the same thing that you're going to have is on those updates of GNOME, the extensions aren't going to mirror that version, and then things will break. That's the main problem with GNOME, in my opinion. But you don't have that problem if you're not modding it out. If you're not using a ton of extensions, GNOME's fine. It really is a great desktop environment for that. But that's all it is. Yep. What's up? Well, take care of them. What do they want? Just no. You want me to go out there and talk to him? Does Mama want me to go out and talk to him? Yeah. Oh my God. All right, I gotta go take care of some people real fast. Oh boy. I'm sure they did not like that interaction. They're gonna remember me. Oh. Speed run of getting rid of telemarketers. Oh. Fixed it. I don't care about my roof, bro. You don't touch with my roof. Get out. Get off my lawn. Pulled a Clint Eastwood real fast on that. All right. Let's go. All right. Anyhow. Did you do it Texas style? You damn right. They won't be back. Is this pre-recorded? That was too fast. There's one thing I do exceedingly well is get rid of people that come to my door, and not in a very memorable way. Let's just say that. People were there about your car's extended warranty or to switch back. Yeah. All right, let's see. What else do we got here? This is neat, though. I love these new projects and people that set them up. I really love this Whiptail project that this person set up. I think this is a great way to do an initial setup of Linux. And the cool thing is he's picking things that he's doing for every new install. So if he ever does reinstall, he could just use this. The flat hub type setup, definitely there, but do we have the install and enabling a flat hub, because that is something. Yes, you got to install. No, where's the setup of Flatpak? You actually have to enable the flat hub repository first, and I do not see that in here. Interesting. Okay, might look into that, unless it's somewhere else in here. Yeah, okay. I do like the idea of all this. This is kind of cool. He's using the Fallout Grub theme. Love it. It's such a good one. Actually, I have that on my little bootloader theme. And then we have our system D that he's copying over. The stable sources list. He's using just stable version, which is cool. And utils anything here from there. So we're copying the sources list, doing an update, dist upgrade. And then he obviously taking care of some Firefox considerations and then grabbing some dependencies. This is where I think I could do a lot better job. I love this idea though. This is great. This is such a cool little script and a very easy way to just toss it up and do it using Whiptail. So, oh, and here was the Flatpak. Install Flatpak and FlatHub store. He did get it. So that's what I was talking about earlier, where you do the sudo Flatpak remote ab FlatHub. He sets it all up right here. So he didn't miss that. And then he actually disables Wayland over here. If you want to disable Wayland, he's just doing it through the GDM, which is the display manager for GNOME. Did I change today's title? How come YouTube chat is member only? We had a lot of problems with YouTube chat kind of going crazy. Oh, we did get a YouTube chat. Hey, Chris, why don't... Oh, yeah, the YouTube. I already went on a whole thing. Why don't I like GNOME? But, yeah, that's just makes it easier to monitor chat. We had some, like, moderation, but we had people coming in, like, tossing up a bunch of... I think we had, like, some Arabic ones that, you know, said some bad stuff. And I was like, oh, man. And... few other things that popped into YouTube chat. So I was like, I'll just make that members only, but YouTube, you can always just use Chatterino and watch it on YouTube as well. So I like having both YouTube and Twitch going at the same time. It's just the chat is a little bit more limited on YouTube. And that makes it just easier for anybody monitoring or just to look at too. But I still have like a whole separate window for YouTube chat. So if you are a member on YouTube, I'll be able to see your message. Okay, Phoenix, let's take a look. What do you got here? What do you got? ATUIN Magic Shell History. What's this? You showed this to me. Did we not do it? All right, well, let's do it. Quick start. With the default sync server, supported shells, it does all the major ones, even ones I've never even heard of. What's Zonish? Interesting. Anyhow, wide support. How many people? 18,000 stars. All right, we're gonna do some Magic Shell history. I think this is kind of cool. Let's see. Oh, did I? Let me look at that real fast before I get going too much. What did I put for the stream title? Did I change the stream title? Oh, yeah, my bad. Linux Tools is the name. Linux Tools. Boops. Totally messed up my stream title. All right, let's look at Magic Shell history. I like it. Phoenix has some good stuff too, as well as Search UI. So quick start. With the default sync server, this will sign you up for a default sync server hosted by me. Everything is end-to-end encrypted, so your secrets are safe. Huh. Well, I don't really want to do that. Can I create my own? I understand why the sync would be there, so then you have that, but I don't want my shell history being put anywhere on the internet. I guess we could do offline only. I kind of want the sync though. So I'm kind of like, might look at something in that regard. Anyways, yeah, I'll worry about that later. Let's first try it out though. I do like the offline only situation. Let's just see what we got here. ATUI, checking distro, Arch Linux, install with Pacman. We're gonna, oh, it's already in the main repos. Nice. Okay. Thank you. Installing, blah, blah, blah. Please run ATUI register to set up sync and log in if you don't. Okay. So we've done that. You can install it with Homebrew, Cargo, Mac ports, Cave, Nix, Pacman. Oh man, tons and tons of options. Very cool. And then for the shell plugin, we're going to be using Bash. So probably something like this. Works best when using ble.sh. What is that? Bash line editor is a line editor written in pure Bash with syntax highlighting, auto suggestions, Vim modes, and Bash interactive sessions. Well, let's start that. What is this one? I started this stream out and I said Linux is a rabbit hole. This is a good illustration of it being a bit of a rabbit hole. There's tons of stuff. Command editor written in pure Bash. Okay. Interesting. It's cool. Download and generate bl.sh using Git. Trial without installation. Quick install to bashrc. If this doesn't work, please follow section there. Interesting. We're going to go here. We're not going to do the trial. We're going to just go for it. I like this, though. I think what we will do is add this. So first, let's grab the bash line editor. We'll toss that in our bash real fast. It's just cloning this project over into our .local and then modifying bash a little bit. All right. And then you got an update. I wonder what that is. BLE update. Let's just try it out. Oh, that's cool. You can self-host. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll self-host. Where's chat? I can't see it. I never see chat. Chat is always like, what the hell? Cat, etc. Oh, okay. Interesting. Cool. What does our bash RC look like now? Let's just go to the end. So we have the eval of Starship Zoxide, and then we have the now BLE and ATUI. Interesting. Okay, let's take a look at what all this does. So syntax highlighting, enhanced completion, menu filtering, Vim editing mode, history and roadmap. Okay. Now, it's pretty much FZF. Interesting. Lots and lots of contributors, man. That's cool. So let's look at the guides. What exactly does this do? So search history. ATUI supports wildcards with either star or % character. By default, the prefix search is performed. All queries are appended with a wildcard. The directory to list all directories. Okay. Interesting. So you got delete all shell history. We deleted all. So everything starts with it looks like a space and then this dash dash. No, it's just dash dash. Kind of crazy. Okay. And then you have interactive search, which I think when you pull it up over here, let's say you just do an up arrow, you can actually flip through and kind of, oh, that's cool. So let's say I go interactive search, which is the up arrow, and I want my paru. What was my last paru? Oh, it's like FZF on steroids. 4 shell. Q. Quit. Interesting. It even shows you how long ago. Obviously, this is all 5 minutes ago when the actual database was built. Pretty cool. And then like our basic LS's, or let's go ZDWM. It did get rid of my listing on going into the directory. But it's still not that bad. Hyperland. Yeah, Hyperland's pretty good. I love Hyperland. If you're a Wayland user, I think Hyperland's the way to roll. Very neat. So you have interactive search. Honestly, just having that easy access to the search history is pretty clutch. You can prune your history. What are the stats? ATUI stats. So you can get history stats. Oh, okay. Let's go ATUI stats all. TUIN stats. Wow. Check out that. Oh my gosh, that is cool. What do y'all think of that? So I use LL 768 times in my history. I've used CD 638 times. Vim 545 times. Yay, 435. Wow. Z, see, I'm still learning Zoxide. Still there. Make 223 times. Zipper for the package manager install. That's a lot of time waiting. Well, with DWM, it's not. Like, what? Did I change anything? So, sudo make clean install. This is what I usually end up running. So that's my make. It's not really that long. But ATUIN stats all. Yeah, that's just, you don't have to write all. This it just defaults to all. Very neat. All right, cool. I like it. Oh, thanks, Phoenix. I knew I'd get it on the 5th try that you mentioned it. ls.lt is the way. Time-based file browsing. Really, Dungeon? That's how you do it? ls-lt. So you just look to see what is changed, the most recent. Interesting. So then you have like the LT. Actually, I already have that alias built in. No, LT does it the other way. Interesting. See, I like it this way where it's descending instead of ascending, to where it'll show you the most recent at the very bottom. That way, if it clips off, your oldest is at the top. LT, huh? Okay. I like it. I still use LL a bunch. LS when I am crunched for time or I just want to see all the files necessarily, maybe looking for a specific file name. But LT for time. I like it. I definitely am going to add that in there. I'm just going to remember it. Newest at the top. I like the newest at the bottom. So the reason for the newest at the bottom in my mind is to see when, let's say you have 100 files in here. I only really care about the most recently changed files. So I want to see those, and that's why you'd put them in case it wraps. And let's say you have 3 or 4 pages. I don't want to be scrolling up to get to the latest file. I just want the latest file to be at the bottom. So that's why I would do LT with a descending format instead of ascending. But each to your own. Each to your own. LZ, reading directory of standard input. gzip, data cannot be read. I think I have a different alias for LZ. Good to know. At this point, make a keyboard shortcut to LL. It's actually not a bad idea. I mean, LL is so easy to type, though. It's like, what is that? Like, we're talking milliseconds. Honestly, I think LL would be easier to type than doing like a Control L or something like that. So I'm fine with it. Alrighty. So what do we want to do? I think we make like a little setup script or something. I kind of inspired by the original setup script from like Debian for gamers. I thought this was really cool. Now, obviously not something I would use, but very neat kind of a setup. What did he do for his terminal RC? Okay. And gaming. Okay. I'll probably do it for Arch. I really like the setup here though. Probably would set something up like that. Do we do an initial setup or how do we want to go that way? Gabriel, thanks for the super chat. Is it possible to use AliExpress TV box as a Linux ARM desktop device? After reflashing, when possible, to do Linux distros like ARMBM, for example. You probably could, as long as it has like USB ports. It depends on the box itself. I've done things like that. I've actually taken entire NAS boxes and loaded up different operating systems on them. So I don't see why you couldn't do that. Specifically, I loaded Arch Server on a network. It was actually a Seagate product. It was very jank. It was a Seagate network drive, basically. Seagate network drive. I'm not advocating anyone do this, mind you. It was, and they may not even make it anymore. Oh, no, they still do. This is crazy. I don't know if this is still a thing. So it was like one of these janky things. It was like $50 on Amazon or eBay. And what this had is it had like this very low powered system, but there was still writable stuff in it. So I was actually able to load Arch ARM based install on it. And I chose Arch ARM because there's just such a minimal footprint there. And I loaded it directly on something like this like GoFlex thing, flashed the BS crap Seagate stuff that came with it, and then just loaded ARM directly on it. I had a little Arch server in a little network drive loaded up on there. Fun. And a fun little project. So yes, same principle with like a TV box or AliExpress garbage that you want to do. And you could do it on the cheap. Really fun. Really fun project to do. All right. So let's see here. As I was typing, I thought of it. I was going to try something else, and I'm going to go set that to my config. Yeah, I think ls after cd is the way to go. I wonder why this new config kind of broke that. So like, let's go to DWM. Okay, cd GitHub. Yeah. So my cd still does it, but when I do z DWM, it doesn't do it. So I'm okay with that. So if I just go back, yeah, it auto still does it. Some of the theming, interesting. DWM Titus. Interesting. So now you got like the ZSH type style with just CD and tab. What if you do, I mean, I'm not going to really use it this way, but kind of an interesting way. Let's do a Z. Z works as well. This is my Zoc side. Cool. Okay. So we got a lot of ZSH functionality in Bash now with this. Cool. Check out logo ls. Well, that's interesting. What about ls when you press enter on an empty prompt? Let's go cd. It'll just give you a readout of the home folder. Go live. Thanks for the sub. Or go live. ZSH is a bit slow. ZSH is fine, and there's a lot of the keybinds and things like that, but I don't know. I really kind of like how Bash is usually the default for most, and I really just love Bash's style, and I kind of like my Bash RC and kind of pimping it out. And you can do the same thing with ZSH, mind you. I think I did like power level 110K or something with ZSH back in the day when I was using it for a bit. But yeah, that's cool. Fish, I haven't really done Fish, so I can't say anything good or bad about Fish. But ZSH auto suggestions does it pretty good. But I do like the fact we now have auto suggestions in Bash using these two projects. I do need to do a video on that for sure. Oh, Fish is not POSIX compliant. Oh, ouch. Well, that makes it kind of out, doesn't it? So this looks cool. I like the idea of whiptail. It's a good way of doing it, but the problem I have with whiptail, the whole reason why we did that whole thing was with Rust, was mainly because I didn't like the way it looked. such a like let's go nmtui, right? So this is a whiptail configuration. It's fine. It's just ugly. And I know that's like such a Windows user style complaint, but I kind of want to like that sexiness, you know? So let's look at, I think it was LinUtil. One thing I meant to take a peek at, I think Just Linux User, you sent it to me. And what did I do with that? Did you do a PR or was it something else? A pretty UI matters. You must enjoy what you do all day. I agree, Dungeon. You started. Okay, I started. Let's take a look at my stars. Thank you. Yeah, right here. For Titus. Check it out. All right, here we go. Let's grab this project and let's take a look. Let's go GitHub. So we got our cargo. Let's just do a cargo run. So this was the list, and this would run the command. Okay. Then it would run it. Yeah. Oh, that's slick. So I like this idea because we can kind of nest certain scripts like the NeoVim setup or the Bash setup, and it just be a lot cleaner than doing like a whiptail. Whiptail is very simple and it's just ugly, where something like this can look pretty. I like it. Oh, see, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. All right, cool. It should resize, make the window small. Okay, let's try that. Persistence, thanks for the sub, man. All right, let's go resize. And then What happens if we, oops. Okay. NeoVim. Okay. Quit. Cool. I like it. That's a good starting spot. See, I like that just so much better than Whiptail. And we can kind of modify this as well. Well, let's go cursor. Let's go line 3. Close this. And any plans on revisiting Bazite? Probably not. I mean, I think I might on like Steam Deck. Sunrise. I think Bazite on a Steam Deck there's a lot of utility there, specifically like a lot of the neat things like EmuDeck and cool things you do with the Steam Deck. Having Bazite on that would be pretty nice. Oh, this is gonna be so good. This is gonna be so good. All right, let's go open folder. Let's come into our GitHub. Let's just grab this whole folder in. So here is our source. Here's the list and the command you're using for each one. What's EZA? I don't think I've ever used that command. We got a PDWM, shiny thing. Very cool. So so just Linux user built this to do our list, and you just go list node, list node, list node, and you can even do embeds here and embed something in here. So like on a setup category. So for the test category, we'd probably go system setup, and then we would put like my bash or something like that in here, and then the nested thing for the name and command. That is very clean, so I don't even have to really program in Rust. I could just use this as my front end. That's just slick. Thank you, just Linux user. That is amazing. EZA is like LS. It's a fork of EXA. Interesting. Similar to a logo LS, but not as fancy. Okay. Don't tell me you're going to code this entire stream, Titus. I've been coding all day long. I need a break. Just a little. You got it, Alex. I'm not coding. I'm not going to do any coding. We're not. It's mostly projects and Linux tools is what we're looking at. I just wanted to revisit this. Instead of using Whiptail, I wanted to find a better thing, and just Linux user just like created this and goes, hey Titus, you suck at Rust. I really appreciate you doing this, so I'm just gonna code this for you and make it super easy. So you just come in here, you just put your commands in, and then it makes the whole menu and it looks awesome and it resizes properly. Please just do this. Then I'm like, cool, we're gonna do that. No more AI coding. No more AI coding. We're done. We're done with AI coding. 100%. You have my word. Wait, no, LinUtil update this stream? What happened? Oh, wait, that's not really coding though. When you include a file, it gets compiled in, so you only have one out binary. Bro, you're amazing. That is awesome. So you just put this in here, and then let's see, we have cargo run. We have, okay, where is a good example of that? Commands ls. Oh, that's cool. So you could actually put your bash scripts right here, and when you do let's say we do like a cargo build for an executable, it would just give us one binary, and then people would just run it and it would have all the bash scripts, everything in it. So I can code, the whole front end's really made in Rust. Or is it the back end? No, really the front end. The whole thing is front end is really Rust. And then I can make like bash scripts that just get compiled into it. That's cool. That's next level. I love it. I love it. All right, cool. My word. Amazing. All right. Let's go. And what was I think? What was it? Logo LS? This project is mainly an idea for like a global Linux tool. I'm just trying to like hack around and get things done. I think we probably need to kind of do a quick brain dump. What do we want to do for a note-taking environment? I'm thinking like Excel Draw. Excel Draw. Didn't even know it did that. All right, let's go. Accelerate. All right, what do we got? You have anything? Okay, great. Blind. Oh, well, that really didn't do anything either. Do we have a dark mode? Oh, yeah. Much better. Okay, great. There is a dark mode. Okay, so AcceleDraw, if you're not familiar with it, it's a good way when you start having like a complex thing. I think what we need to do is make our menu and start kind of like documenting things, right? Figuring out how do we help Linux users. First off, let's just say Linux tools. And what ones do we want? We have first my bash. We have 2 NeoVim, 3 system setup, and then we're gonna go like 3A. We'll just go A. And for the system setup, we need wine dependencies, and B. What else do we have? Bash set. Yeah, I got my bash setup up there. NeoVim, Steam setup, probably Lutris, D, Flatpak, E. What else do we need for our setup? Probably like Paru, F. Starting to regret I didn't do normal bottles. I don't really use bottles at all. Do you guys use bottles? Window Manager's themes. Oh yeah. I think DWM is going to be like its own deal though, because there are going to be people that don't like my DWM. I understand that. We go DWM Titus. My bash. I think we need to expand this. Add ATUIN. What else do we have? All right. Bottles would be nice to have. Okay, we can add bottles. Bottles. The idea is the system setup should be things that like pretty much every user will want. So wine dependency, Steam setup, Lutris, Flatpak, Paru, bottles. Pretty much every user is going to want that type of stuff. Oh yeah. Add and then ble.sh. What else do we need? Get user, get email setup. Oh yeah. ABCD. So probably like get gh setup. What else do we do on every setup? btop, htop, btop, something like that. FZF. Fonts. Fonts is a big one. ABCDEFGH. Font setup. Gosh, just getting like emotes, emojis, and all that stuff baked in. So good. Browser setup. Yeah, what kind of... Oof. Yeah, probably browser setup would be a good one. Like browser setup. Oh, Pipewire and audio setup would be another big one, huh? Audio setup. Terminal client. Yeah, terminal setup would... Terminal. Oh, yeah, that'd be cool. Oops. What? All right. Oh, we gotta have Nix. Yeah, probably like a Nix package manager on top of it because we got like Paru / like Nix package managers. Bro, this font family is wild, isn't it? Kind of crazy person does that. Oh, I mean, it kind of looks kind of neat, but let's do code. All right, yeah, it's more fitting. Okay. GPG, SSH keys, we can pretty much bake that into something else. NVIDIA stuff, yeah, I guess we could take a stab at NVIDIA setup. I probably will do that automatically and combine some of these things now that I'm thinking about it. Like wine dependencies, GPU, because I'm trying to think, you're going to want the GPU setup up here. We'll just toss it there for now. Well, we'll detect whether or not to use NVIDIA or not. Eventually, we're going to have to modify this in a year or two whenever NVK doesn't suck. Grub themes. I don't think grub themes are really necessary. I think that would be a whole new project. That would be kind of like a fun, nice to have setup. So like bootloader, grub themes would be another one. I need to revisit that project. Oh, file manager setup. I don't know what kind of modifications we make to a default one. Oh, God bless. We missed a big one. A big one would be locale setup. Oh, that's a, I mean, it should already be set up in the system, but I always end up hard coding a lot of like locale setups to do like proper collation, like properly collate and other like fixes. I for whatever reason, I always have a hard time in Linux with locale. And I always end up just like forcing my own little, I have a little gist I run for a script for setting it, which is kind of interesting. Locale, NTP. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, Arch by default does not enable NTP. Agreed. Server stuff, maybe. I'm thinking just for like average users, this is really meant to help both sysadmins and average users. And I'm trying to think of like already existing projects so we can kind of get an idea for where we want to go with this project. Let's see. Firewall setup. Yeah, we could do UFW, set up firewall D. Yeah, I think that we do like a firewall setup. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I agree with that. Arch leaves all the user management to the user, as it should, because, you know, I think I probably would have argued with Peter earlier, you know, maybe like a couple years ago and say, well, a user shouldn't set all this up. But then as I saw what some of the distributions are doing by default, specifically looking at Fedora, I'm like, ew. Gross. I'd be pissed if my operating system wanted to choose those things. I don't want those things. So I like the fact that Arch doesn't really do that, or any kind of firewall setup by default, or setting up NTP by default. These are things that are nice, but not at the end of the day, everyone's going to want them. So it's neat. Dbus is usually handled by whatever, and also login manager is usually handled by whatever you're choosing. So like, let's say I was doing DWM Titus, I'm going to take care of all that as well. Let's see. So we got Thorium and other browsers for the browser setup. VM management. Ooh, you know, I think we'd make a whole different thing for this. This is more of a sysadmin side, less of a user. Virtual machine setup scripts. I think that would be huge. Because a lot of people are always like, well, how do you do your QEMU? How does it look and feel like that? And the idea of this is just to have it all set up. One, I've set these things up. Everything we've listed right here, I've set up like 10 plus times. And frankly, this is kind of selfish of me. I kind of just want this for me. Like, I want something where I just knock it up, run it, and then go do it. And then it sets it up exactly how I've set it up a billion times before, but without wasting 30 minutes of my time. I do it, you know, I spent a couple hours doing it once, and then I never have to do it again. And then other people can just grab it and go, this is awesome. And then just go. That's honestly what I did with the Windows toolbox. And that's exactly what I'm thinking now. As you guys are listing out stuff, I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, backup is a big one. Backup setup's another one. Backups. Probably time shift or back in time. Yeah, the VM setup with QEMU Virt Manager is what this is going to be. What else do we have? I'm loving this learning the alphabet segment with Chris. True. Trash CLI needs to be set up. Actually, that's part of my bash. My bash already is doing that on setup. I use what is that? BTRBK. Really? I don't think I've ever done that. I'll look at that. Yes, bringing DWM to the masses would be another big thing. I think the big patches and things that I've done in DWM, kind of expanding on that, is definitely something I'm working on. Oh man, agreed. Documentation. Gosh, how we do documentation. That's like a whole different can of worms over here, isn't it? Let's just go documentation, just as a reminder. Okay. Man and TLDR. Yeah, that should be... Where do we set that up? That should be wrapped into one of these. Those are like essential tools. Like TLDR I use all the time. Do I do it on my bash setup? Probably my bash is where I'd throw that. Probably like a TLDR. Let me just toss it up here for TLDR. User groups. My bash is the project name. It's how I do my bash. Like this is my bash. It's a project. So if you go my bash, yeah, this is just something I've done, and I have a setup and a bash RC that we've slowly been modifying over time, and I just wanted to add all these things to it. Yeah, warnings and documentation. Don't use num extensions. Yeah. It's rite of the passage, right? Yeah, so I already got bat or batcat, whatever one you're rocking, Zoxide, all that's already bundled into my bash. I'm gonna bundle TLDR, BLE.sh, and ATUIN directly in there, which is like autocomplete. Basically, all the good stuff from ZSH is just getting added to bash. And add this to your bash, FZF tab completion. Ooh, you know what? What's wrong with gnome extensions? Oh. All right. You need to install FZF first, and then clone this repo. Download only the scripts. Follow up setup for this. So let's look at bash. So you're sourcing the FZF tab completion, and then binding -x. What's this backspace? What's this T binding? What's a hotkey for that? I guess that's the tab key. So then it automatically binds FZF tab completion with that. Okay, that makes sense. So you bind the tab key and then, yeah, bam, there we go. That's cool. I was just complaining about that. So that works with ATUIN. Yeah, the one worry I have as we're looking at all this is some of these things tripping over each other. So with FZF tab completion, do I really need, well, ATUIN's like more of like a magic shell history is how they put it. So that's more of history on steroids. The BLE.sh is more of like colorizing and changing some of the output. That's neat. So yeah, I guess FZF tab completion. Let's just add it real fast and see what we got. You'd think this would be in like the AUR, but anywho, let's just go clone tab completion. Now, I think FCS completion. Could I just grab this one thing, right? I feel like, let me just try it. This is probably not how you want to install it, but I'm just going to double check. Just thinking what I would like to do instead of sourcing this whole thing. Do I need to source it? I guess, yeah, I probably should source it. I'm just going to grab it and put it in. So we have this wget, and let's go bash rc. I feel like we should throw this in with ble.sh just so they're kind of in the same area. Let's move fcf bash to .local share, and right now there's the ble.sh, but you know what? Let's just toss it in ble.sh. I'm fine with that, actually. So then we'll just source it right below it. Actually, let's just yank that. Paste. Oops. FCF. What was that file? Bash completion. And then we also need the bind as well. Oops. All right, so then we got our tab bash completion. I think that's good. So let's quit, relaunch. Uh-oh. I'm such a goob. You guys are gonna laugh at me. I grabbed the non-raw file. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, no completion, huh? Not local. Share. Sorry, 1 second. Milish. All right. Remove FCF. It's not even executable. I keep hitting tab completion, and it's like, ah. All right, now let's source this properly. Okay, that's greatness. Let's grab the actual source file now. wget. All right, now we have the proper one, and let's do a chmod. Actually, I think if we source it, we don't actually need it executable. Yeah, eventually I'll transition to MPV. You know. Yeah, no need to chmod since it's sourced. So let's go here, close. Yeah, now we're fixed. So let's go cd.local. I think we got some things tripping over each other in our bash. I don't know if the FZF autocomplete's gonna work with all these other bash add-ins. That was what I was afraid of. I was just thinking to myself, this is a lot of crap to add to it. I think the FZF might have been too much. Yeah, I think the BLESH is the issue. I think it's just too much autocomplete all at once. And I think BLESH is probably a better method of it. So let's just go to the end. Let's just wipe that out. Because we kind of have autocomplete now. Yeah, I think I just don't really like the idea of that. Because, like, let's say we do cd.local. Oh, well, 1 second. Let's relaunch. cd.local. And you see how we have, like, the tab. The tab complete works, but the rebinding tab is trying to override how we're doing the like ZSH complete here. So it makes sense. Interesting. What is this? Control J. So let's go local. Let's just go cd.local. I don't know if I like that. Yeah. I think that's too much for me. I think the BLSH, I think I have to kill it. The color and the auto, it's just too much for me. I think that's what happened with ZSH too. I was just like, I don't really like too much suggestions. Yeah. Yeah, I think let's kick BLSH to the curb. Let's try to source just FZF. Bash complete. I feel like FZF would be more my speed. I think this one's just doing a little too much on that side of things. Yeah, I'm sure me and Prime definitely could learn from each other. You couldn't find two different styles of viewing. Obviously, Prime on the programming side, good night. You just have a wealth of knowledge there. But on the Linux side, for sure, I'd love to sit down with Prime and be like, hey, let's redo your system and try and get you going with a decent window manager that's not i3 and get you on a cool subset of things to where you're not always in Vim all the time or always in NeoVim, really. I would love to do that. That would be cool. That would be super cool. Maybe you can unbind tab and rebind it to get both. Possibly. I'm just trying to think of the most efficient way of doing this. The main issue, I think, like, I like using tab on like ZI, and I think it might interfere with this as well. So that's the other thing about FZF. I'm like, man, with Zoxide and ATUI, I'm kind of like, do I really even need a tab complete? Like a FZF fuzzy finding tab complete. Like I'd either be using Zoxide or ATUI. I really don't think I would need either. Vim bash RC. Wait, what folder am I in? I'm lost. All right. Let's go Vim bash RC. Let's come to the end. I think we're just gonna kill this, and we'll leave that one. Let's see what this looks like. So now we have our LL ZDWM. We have our up and back CD config. See, I like this just so much better. Yeah, nah. This is where it is. The fuzzy finding with tab and all that, I'm just not a fan. I think when you have Zoxide, you have the magic history, you don't need another FZF. Like, that's just too much. It's just too much. I don't think so, Phoenix. I think you're wrong. I don't think you need the fuzzy finding tab. I like it just to autocomplete. That's just my thought. Yeah, FZF and Zoxide. I have FZF and Zoxide, so I don't really need that. We do need to get Office and also the password manager. Nightseeker, thanks for joining the techs over on YouTube. React to my completion setup again. I think we already did that, right? I mean, I'm going to steal this. I like the auto history. ATUIN, I like the magic shell history. I think that's awesome. And just having the fuzzy finding right there. And then we have like interactive Zoxide if we want like, hey, what kind of config we got? Yeah, let me just get this. I mean, what more could you want? It's just so beautiful. And then you have just regular tab complete from old school bash, which I also enjoy. So I think that's great. All right, so I think that's where we go there. We do need office setup. Yeah, see, I like just normal autocomplete. I think that's fine. All right, let's look it up. Let's see what you're going on about, Phoenix. If you didn't have such a good track record, I'd ignore you right now. Let's see. All right, what do we got? A ZSH. It's cool, I guess. I think if I was more of a programmer, I would probably like this type setup. But as it is, I'm kind of an old man, and I really don't even like LSPs that much, to where they like have all these auto suggestions. A lot of times I just like to code it myself. I see where you're coming from, but it's just not for me. It's autocomplete command help. Totally. It's like having an LSP built into bash. I dig it. I get why you like it, but yeah, I just don't know. Let's just go documentation. We're gonna put that there. Yeah, I just, you know, having an old man moment where I'm like, I just like it. I just like it how it is. I get a little bit of autocomplete with a tab. I don't need it like to predict the world for me. I just like just a little help. Like when I already kind of know what it is and I don't want to type out the rest of the 10 letters for a long path and I can just hit tab to complete, that's cool. But that is just a little overboard for me. But you could love it. I think it's very like a personal preference there. So for me up here, I'm probably going to remove BLESH. We're just going to do ATUIN and TLDR. I already have Zoxide already built into my bash. That's why we don't have it there. Yeah, using tab, but it just depends on how powerful you want tab to be. Tab to complete, cool. That's like my jam, tab complete all day long. Tab predictive, fuzzy finding, my brain works differently and it just doesn't jive. Proton QT, probably should throw that up here. I think probably, let's probably just do that. Probably under Steam, Proton QT, Proton up as well. I like Proton up instead of having the GUI, the graphic user interface. I like just doing the Proton up. So that's just my thought process there. Dependency. Oh no, wine independence. Oh my. But you can fuzzy find your package managers, packages with tab completions. Okay. And I think almost all of it's pretty good. Yeah, so I think Proton Up's really the way to go here. So thanks, James, for the sub. New subscriber. All right. Man, we've been getting a lot of new subscribers this past month. It's been awesome. Play on Linux still a thing? I don't think so. Well, I think it's like a thing, but there's better ways of doing it. I think really Lutris has kind of taken Play on Linux's place. When it comes to gaming on Linux, really Steam and Lutris is like the best thing. That's what happens when you stream regularly. I know, I've been bad. This past year though, Drummer, we've been pretty consistent about it. It's been great. I've been trying to mix in a couple late night streams during the summertime too. So you'll see me on at normal hours, and then you'll also see me on later at night, especially when I have like a big project or something to work on. And I think also I'm just getting better at streaming and actually reading chat and documenting. It'd be kind of cool. And someone did ask in chat earlier about the Display Manager LY. What is that? What is that? A display manager with a console. Oh, I have seen this. That's awesome. I kind of like the minimal nature of it. Is a lightweight TUI in curses like display manager for Linux and BSD. That's kind of neat. maybe a strong competitor to like light DM type setup. Although I do like my light DM rices. All right. So Knight says currently use ly combined with sway. Okay. So I see, this is the great thing, is this is just a very minimal setup. So if you don't want to do any kind of theming on a display manager, I would totally use this. Actually, let's go ahead and start it just in case I need to come back to it and go, you know what was that lightweight manager, display manager? I don't want to use light DM or SDDM or any of the other heavies. Might just do that. I use auto login a bunch too, so I wonder if it does have auto login. It also does not require systemd. Okay. Is designed not to depend on login D. That's kind of cool. So if you're using like OpenRC or run it or whatever, initd, you can do it all right here. Very cool. I like that it has like sway. I don't see any Hyperland support. So sway is Wayland based. So you'd think there would be like a Hyperland support too. But I bet it works with it. If it works with sway, I wouldn't see why it wouldn't work with Hyperland. Oh, somebody in chat, what was it? Gamer in Linux. I think Lutris will be depreciated or deprecated like Play on Linux. Really? Bottles and Heroic Launcher are much better and simpler options. Well, that'd be interesting to see. I mean, I do like Heroic. It's kind of popped up in the last year. I don't really do anything with Epic Game Store or any of that, so I can't really speak to that. I've done it a couple times, but nothing really too crazy. And Lutris, it can be a little hit and miss sometimes. Yeah, as far as an app store type thing, maybe like, here, let's come back to our Excel draw. I feel like this is the basic system setup. Probably like my apps. I think we would just do another like nested process. Something like, come on, Excel draw. Get with it. All right, let's go 8 my apps, or we'll call it Titus apps or whatever. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But apps that I would use specifically to that. Can we do like a small size? Oh, nope. Can't do that. Undo. Meh. Whatever. We'll just do that. And probably do like what are apps that I really use that maybe not a lot of people do? I'm trying to think. Let's just pull up. What do I have? We got DaVinci Resolve. Oh man, I could make a lot better Resolve setup script. I think I need to do that because everybody has problems getting Resolve working. Resolve setup script. There's so many like things I needed to do with that to get Resolve working properly in my Linux. Any other issues people have? Oh, Obsidian. Yeah, Obsidian's a good one. Obsidian, OBS. I mean, yeah. Trying to think of other big ones. What else do I run here? We gotta have GIMP, Chatterino, cursors, and app image. Oh man, we gotta put gear lever in here. Gear lever, app image manager. So important. Gear lever is an amazing takeaway from our Bazite expert, just running through there. Emacs for chats. If you're an Emacs user, you don't need my setup script. And that's for sure. Gparted, yeah. I use that often. Chatterino. Huge Twitch chat. Easy way to Twitch chat without being on Twitch. Absolutely love it. Online account setup. I don't know about that. Does anybody actually use online account setup? OnlyOffice is good office software. I agree with that, Knight. I think it's good. I like OnlyOffice a lot better than LibreOffice because it's a little bit easier of a transition from Microsoft Office products, in my opinion. Let's see what else we have. We already got that. Audio setup's a big one. Do we have audio? Yeah, audio setup. Put like Pavu control, pulse reset, pipe wire config. I'm trying to think of like, this is probably going to be another nested menu, but I'm just kind of trying to dump all the things I've done with audio setup and then having easy access menus to do that. Cursor. Yeah, probably do cursor as well. I still love cursor. I keep waiting for cursor to just like VS Code to get up to date with it, but cursor has just been very solid to me. It's been very, very helpful. Proton task kill. I think actually we're going to go with like a proton reset up here. I'm going to add this directly in. So originally proton reset was a Kari Knight one, but I've kind of taken his script and then I started adding to it because there's certain games that didn't reset properly after I got out of, specifically Fallout 76 crashes, which there's probably maybe one other person that watches me that might play that game. So that's really just for me. But proton reset is also very cool. It's just a good way of like just killing a bunch of processes from like a bad launch of a game. Proton GE is already there with Proton QT and Proton Up. That's just like interfaces to install and update Proton GE. GTK hash on the list. Ooh, you know what? Theming, guys. That's a big one. Theming, specifically like LX appearance, GTK, QT, universal, dark mode. What else do we need? Yeah, browser setups right here. NW, that's a little bit too niche, Night. QT5 CT, QT6 CT. NWG look is way better than LX. Really? Is it that much better? All right, well, let's see. Chat's saying it's better. Chat's usually right. How right are we? So do we have NWG look? We do not have NWG look. What am I doing with my life? All right, let's take a look. Let's just look at NWG look. All right. Nordic, LGS, prefer dark. Okay. Icon, mouse cursor. Yeah, I guess NWG look is better. Files to export. So it sets GTK. What about QT settings? Does this take care of QT as well? Proton up? Proton up, I thought. Really? Do I not have Proton up? I don't have Proton up installed. I thought Proton up was auto install everything. Oh, it's a pip install. Okay. Let's try it. All right. There's like a bad link here, it looks like. Probably from like an old install or something. All right. Proton up. No, let's go pipx proton. Oh, I think I ran into... Well, that's weird, isn't it? Dark, thanks for the prime. Let's go -- force, I guess. What did I do with my proton up here? I think I broke something. Huh. Yeah, let's do a uninstall of proton up. Okay, now let's just do a reinstall. Okay, then proton up. Download and install. So I've only just done proton up and it just auto installs and tosses it into the .steam/compatibility, blah, 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 and just does it all. Yeah, that's where it installs it. So you just run proton up and it just installs and updates proton GE for you. That's what I thought. Yeah, I've always I guess I forgot how I did that. All right, then. Man, I like that. So I think really the big thing, we've made a lot of, didn't really make like progress in actually coding it. Like we have like the front end now. I think we're going to just use just Linux users. Amazing little shell of a menu/Rust kind of program. Then we're going to make bash style scripts for like the setups. Like we've already done like my bash. Probably need to, smooth it over a little bit, make it more universal. So all distros and those types of things will be there. My NeoVim, we're just not going to bother with that for a while because most people aren't going to use mine. Most are going to use like a Kickstart or maybe like copy like Prime's NeoVim type thing. And then the system setup, it'll still be there. It'll still link to mine, but I'll just leave it as is. System setup. Then we'll just create... I don't know on this. Like, I feel like Lutris, Steam, Wine dependencies, all this could be like one gaming setup. Or maybe a nested menu inside of it. But I don't want like the inception of menus either. I just kind of wanted to do a brain dump of all the things we need for like setting up Linux properly. Yeah. Oh, multiple options for NeoVim would be good. I agree with that. Like you could do it like an NV chat or do a blank kickstart. You can do a lot of different things, I think. Yeah. And then like just other like nuances of a full setup, like what things bother us or take time. Really, they don't necessarily bother us, but we'll spend 10 or 15 minutes installing and configuring something, to where if it was just a script in a menu like this Linux tools one, I feel like that would just save everyone a mountain of time. And also would make a lot of like Linux adoption a lot easier, because many power users are like, ah, crap, okay, setting up this app image and properly linking it. Some people do it manually, which is nuts, where they could just use gear lever app image manager and those types of things. I think that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, for sure, Rux. I'm feeling pretty good today. This is pretty good. WSL2 GUI setup. That'd be funny. We could probably do like that. That would be its whole separate project, though. Maybe I'd probably bake that into LinUtil. How about making the setup as clean as possible and making additional stuff appearing in the window after setup? Yeah, for sure. For sure. Oh, Blurch, thanks for joining the text over on YouTube. Don't forget about GStreamer and OBS VK capture. I think that's all baked in during the OBS setup over here, I want to say. But yeah, probably doing like GStreamer. We'll just add it to the OBS setup. Streamer and OBS VK capture. What about Looking Glass? Looking Glass is possibly we could look at something like virtual machine setup. Maybe do like a quick pass through from Hikari Knight. He's done an amazing job with a lot of PCI pass-through / Looking Glass. I probably would do something like that. I think adding those project options and then not necessarily making it automated, because those are just very different depending on what's going on with your certain system. I think referencing the documentations to those projects, and then that like puts everybody on the right path. Obviously, you're very technically adept at this point in view if you're trying like a quick pass through / Looking Glass setup like I have. So it's really just making the reference materials there so you could launch into it would be great. Yeah. Oh, Flat Seal's a big one too. Flat Seal for sure. It's almost essential. Open RGB, and there's just so much. There's just so much. Kernel version options, possibly. We could add something like that. I think for now, I think this is a really good basis for a lot of the ones. Yeah, do I use any Flatpak? I think there is some Flatpaks on my system. So I use Gear Lever for app image management, Flat Seal, and that's about it, really. Like these are just dependencies, really. Yeah, so I really don't use Flatpak much on my system, but I like having it there. It's just nice to have in case you do need it. So yeah, I'm with you, Peter, on that. A TLP or auto CPU freak for Linux power save. Zabber, I think TLP is kind of what I've leaned towards nowadays, but TLP requires a lot of configuration. The stock config for TLP is not great. So if you don't want to put in any work on like a comp file, I would go auto CPU freak. But if you do want to put in some work, I would prefer probably TLP with a really fine-tooth comb going through the comp file and setting it up properly. It could be good, but TLP's stock setup is trash. You just got to do it. Codecs for FLAC. No, I don't think so. I don't even think I have that on my system. Probably something in like the OBS setup, like right here, probably like codecs / FLAC, something like that. Yeah, getting the hybrid graphics setup with like using Prime and those types of things would be interesting as well. Please tell me you use FLAC and not Wave. Well, I'm using Opus, so I don't actually do any audio files independently. Everything's just MP4 using like 264 and Opus. So I don't really ever mess with either one. System setup we could do, like if you look at my setup, I am using the Zen kernel over here. I don't know if I notice much difference between Zen. I don't know if it's worth the headache that some users might experience because of it. So I'm kind of hesitant to make it part of the setup. And I don't want to overwhelm people either, too. So maybe like an advanced setup, I might add like a custom Linux kernel for that. The Catchy OS kernel is the best. Well, you could use, we did like TKG, which Catchy uses the same TKG scheduling optimizations as what TKG has. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan. I wasn't a big fan of changing the default schedulers and those types of things. I ended up running into more problems than it really solved or fixed. So, you know, could have been a configuration on my part, but I don't know. Yeah, it just isn't as good as any good anymore. Bummer. Yeah, Zen's been okay though. I've liked it quite a bit. LACT for AMD GPUs, yeah. Yeah, so it's been good. I think we have a really good starting point here. So for Thursday, what we're gonna do is start making this menu a reality. We have the foundation set. We have everything ready. Like my bash is pretty much there. We'll start building it out, and we should have a version 1 at the end of Thursday's stream. That I don't know if it'll be ready for the masses per se, but I think we'll at least have my bash, NeoVim, and then we're going to really start hitting system setup really hard and getting those fixed, because I think that would probably be the biggest like time sinks and headaches that people have with Linux, and that system setup section will drastically reduce setup time for a lot of people. And then we're just going to slowly build it out and then do it. I think this would be a great tool set of basic setups for folks, and we can add to it and kind of streamline it, make nested menus, and we've kind of got a good idea. And now that we've workshop brainstormed, got everything set exactly how it is, I think Thursday's where the rubber meets the road and we really start making something amazing. So I'm going to end it here today, guys. I think this is a good spot to stop. I'm going to save this out, and this will be kind of our guiding light for Thursday's stream. And we'll have some really good Linux tools to make for all users, mostly for myself, but for you guys too. You know? So, all right, y'all. Have a good one. Peace.